with the solution rather than government come and actually, you know, fund half a dozen solutions and may do nothing.
That's how I would agree 100% with that. Right? This meeting is about, it is coming from industry, not from the government. Right? And I believe if we leave it up to the government, first of all, I don't think we will get the product we want. And secondly, it will be, I think timing will be too late. Right? There are moves of the government for a central database and so forth, but it does not go to that what we have in mind, right? We have in mind that we combine as breed societies and link performance and horses. That's what our first step is, right? That's what we want to do. And when we do that, we all will benefit, right? And tremendously. That's because we don't have that information. And the rest of the world looks at statistics. And I know in the warm blood world, these people get information from Europe who are the best stallions. Now, how do they get that information? Because they know what stallions produce, what horses, and how much money they want and what they did. Right? Some of these things are probably done in the larger operations, like the stock horses. They record some information of their own sport, mainly calm drafting, but they don't know what stock horses do in the equestrian sport or in pony club or whatever. Right? We want to capture them all.
I agree with that, Wally. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here, and an important thing is obviously, which I know you'll go on to that aspect of it, is making sure that you've got the correct structure from it. And from that structure, that'll lead to a lot of opportunities with funding and grants that are available from the government and other places. Sports grants, EA obviously gets a lot of funding from different organisations. And like I said, if this is set up right with the right structure, there should be a lot of opportunities to get some funding for it.
Yes, I agree, Leah, and it's very important, but we haven't got a structure in mind, right? We are open. This is the first meeting, right? And also, which the next question which comes up leads a little bit towards that. Will you be sending all the information benefit we can discuss? First, will you be sending us all the information, benefits, costs, etc., that we can discuss with our committees? Now, I just realized I forgot to push the record button, and I started recording only a minute ago. So it was planned that the whole meeting can be sent out, but we will be sending you all the decks, the presentation deck, which we have been done, and also discussion which is now happening. It's being recorded, right? And yes, and sure you can discuss it with your committees. If you need any information, it's fine. You can contact us anytime. And it's a group, right? We are coming together to form it. And who would, Shanna Anthem, excuse me, who would make up the committee? The committee would be made up, in my opinion, all the breed organizations who have an interest in being part of it. We sit together and say, okay, who wants to join me on the committee? And let's get it off the ground. We want to try to get the right people on board, but I think it will be sort of, that has to be decided, and it depends. Normally, I know in most committees I've been part of, right, it is hard to get committee members. Right? Hopefully this might be different, and hopefully we have a lot of breed societies who want to join and actually want to be on the committee.
Uli?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
It's David Quick from the Holstein Horse Association.
David, good to see you. Or good to hear you. Great.
Yeah, okay. Had a bit of trouble getting in, but so my thoughts are, I think the concept is very good. my thoughts are that we need some working committee once we decide to go forward, so that a working committee can start to put together a collective of ideas. And I can't see it being everybody in every association. It would be too large. So we need to try to get some sort of a nucleus of a working committee that can have some suggestions and go back out to the people. That's the way I think it probably needs to go forward. That's my suggestion.
For sure, David, that makes a lot of sense. And we have to make sure that we have a board representation of all breeds, right, of all societies. Let's say you are from the Holsteiner, I'm from the Ace Warm Bloods, right? But we also need the Western people, the stock horse, the Arabians, right? And we have to make sure that we look after all, right? Small or big. Mm.
Yes, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, totally agree.
Good. Mm. Who would make which people, or how would we do that, right? Which people, how? Yeah. Hopefully, at the end of this meeting, we can say, okay, I support this, or I'm sure I will be on board with this, and I like to be part of the further development. Or you can say, I support it, but I'm not interested in the development of it. You can do it, but keep us here. So it's really up to you, and let's see what comes out of this discussion, rather than saying, no, already we want to have to do this and that. Does Julia's question ask whether this should be left to government or industry? I think we answered that, Karen. Julia wrote to everybody, if the Breed Society could come together under one umbrella and present a united fund, I believe the government would listen to them and come up with funding, as individually equine groups are not viewed by government to be of great significance. You could speak with one voice. They would be very powerful. This is what UK and Canada did. Exactly, I agree 100%, Juliana, with that. Right? Like I said in the beginning, just individually we are very weak, but collectively we are very strong. And hopefully we can. I don't expect that every breed organization jumps on board straight away, but hopefully that we get a good number of breeds organizations to get it started, and we keep it open for everybody else to keep joining us.
Ulrich, can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Just for the group, I'm not a breed association. I'm a person who's been looking into the whole idea of horses being registered in Australia, full stop. And I've been speaking a lot to the UK, America. I've spoken to Germany, I've spoken to the Netherlands, I've spoken to Canada, and everybody seems to be able to do it except us. And you probably are all aware that there is a National Horse Traceability Working Group. Now that came out of a Senate inquiry, and Ulrich, you and I both presented to that, as did perhaps a few other people here contributed with submissions. There were 70 of them, and everybody agreed that things needed to improve in Australia. But the thing that I am noticing, and that's what I meant by my comment about the people who are here, who are very vested in their breed societies and who love their animals and believe in what they're doing and everything you're saying, individually, you're invisible. And that became very apparent to me when they chose the committee for the National Horse Traceability Working Group, which has currently been going for 1.5 years and is achieving very little. The representative for you people is the Australian Horse Industry Council. Now, the Western disciplines are relatively well represented by them, from what I can gather, with the Stock Horse Association and the, I think the National Camp Drafters and Racing, and I think there's a few other smaller groups. But what appears to be missing, they're speaking on behalf of everybody. And so I'm not suggesting that they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I'm simply noticing that the disparity of this enormous industry that's the horse industry is working against it being recognised, getting funding in grants or in any kind of, I guess, help from a government that constantly is giving out money. And so I commend what you're doing here tonight. And I really, really hope that everybody sees the significance of taking part in developing yourselves to become under one umbrella, because that's when you become visible and you create your significance, and the government recognises that you deserve funding.
Yeah, Sorry, Leah, you go first.
I was just going to say, I agree with Juliana, and I think that even this is a really amazing starting point to get all the breed societies to unite as such, and it gives you the one platform, and exactly like Juliana said, it gives us a louder voice. There's so much more, and I know it's just the early, but there's so much more than this. You know, Juliana, everyone probably knows Juliana's story, you know, about her push for the national horse traceability, which we need, and this could probably be a good start for it as well. Definitely this country needs something like this.
Could I say something from New Zealand, please?
Yeah.
I'm Robin from the Hanoverian Society here, and Jodie would probably endorse what I'm about to say. We also have a horse traceability thing going on, which she and I have both been involved in, she more than me. But also our problem is, how on earth does one get to a point where all our data can be shared with the FN in a logical and accepted fashion? Because here we don't have that. They do. It's so mishmash. Ask Jodie, it drives us both nuts, because we'll have UELNs for horses. They'll think that because the owner of the horse, who mightn't be the breeder and might be three trips down the track, hasn't a clue. And so the SNZ here gives us its own UELN. So we end up with horses with 2 UELNs, and it's a total pain in the neck. So that is a big problem, both with you and with us, apparently, in terms of liaising with from the breed society point of view to the FN.
I can answer some of that, Robin, because
okay.
There's been a meeting with the FEI Council. So, and this is why the survey's gone out. So we've altered the survey because a lot of the national federations probably don't even understand who world breeding is, to be fair. So what they're aiming to do is, when a passport comes, so like when the New Zealand Warm Bloods and the Hanoverian Society have papers and passports, we are trying to get the national federations to recognise those, not the individual people that will say and go and ask for papers from ESNZ. And I'm sure Australia, like Uli has said previously, has the same option, same issues. So that is what we're working on. So that's where they're talking about the corrupted data. So we've got the backing of the FEI, so it's a slow process, but that's what we're going to work on, and that's what's going forward now. So hopefully that will end some of that, but it is going to take.
I think, Robin, just going back to your point, ultimately at the end of the day, and coming from the background I come from, it's technology. Technology is the actual answer, and it's fit for purpose, contemporary technology. So basically, to this day, nobody is using technology that works, and ultimately that's what it is. So if we can actually get to a point where we go, right, we need to find the best technology, or the one that's most suitable for what we need, before we just grab whatever's available, or grab whatever everyone is already using. So it really comes down to research and making sure we are actually getting what's fit for purpose, because we don't want to end up in that hole again, because I think we can all agree every single one of us has got processing problems, administration errors, we're all saying the same thing, I think. And that's ultimately where it goes to.
I think there is some technology, and some breed societies have got some good technology, but I think there's a disjoint. There's so many separate breed societies,
exactly.
And not every horse is a purebred with one breed society. You know, my yearling, as an example, is registered with 3 different breed societies, and it's really ridiculous that I have to go to these 3 breed societies. And I think that's the purpose of here. You can go to under the one umbrella where they can be stamped for the other societies, and more more joining of it all, and the societies speaking to each other and working together, really. So
And so I'm coming back to Juliana's comment that with regards to the Horse Industry Council to be our representative for all, right? Now, I have been following the Horse Industry Council for a long time, but the problem is that so to join this group and to get a voice, you have to be a member and you have to pay for the membership. And most breed societies are not financial enough to do that and don't see the value for money. And now that's why it's so important with this group that we make sure we all can come together at no cost. That we can say that it is not a reason for the cost factor that we don't come together.
I'm curious to ask the girls from New Zealand. I had understood that there was some moves afoot to look at developing national traceability amongst the majority of horses there at a preliminary stage. Am I correct?
That's absolutely correct. It's ongoing, which I alluded to just in the last little discussion. Jody Hartstone's has had more experience with it than me, but yes, MAF here, the Ministry of Ag and Fish, or whatever, MPI now, Ministry of Primary Industries, is starting to insist on IDs for all horses.
Yep. I really wish that this could be viewed by the National Horse Traceability Working Group. It's unfortunately overcrowded by members of the departments of primary industries because it got stuck on biosecurity. So I don't know whether any of the people listening are members of the National Horse Traceability, the Australian National Horse Council. I became a member just so I could get some information. I don't even own a horse. And I find that they're not very good at giving information, and they're very good at giving opinions that I'm thinking on where did that opinion come from. So if anyone is able in their breed society in any capacity to become involved to find out what's happening, because I can tell you that we are going to get a National Horse Traceability Register. It's just not going to happen for a while. And I really feel it's important that people like yourselves are the voices that banging on their doors, writing to the minister saying, why haven't you come and asked us? Why aren't you talking to us? So as an umbrella group, perhaps that's where your power will be.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, it's ongoing because it got to the point where they're trying to decide whether it's going to be linked to the cow ID situation or something else, or a combination of various other things. That's where it is at the moment, how to actually monitor it and fund it and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, do you have an NLAS like we do?
What's an NLI?
National Livestock Identification.
Yes, it's called NATE. National.
All right, so they're looking at whether to add horses to it or not. Right, well, we've decided not to add it.
Yeah.
We're doing ours separately.
Apparently that's not going to be ideal.
No, well, they've already decided here it will be separately, but they are still using some of the same parts of it.
Some of it apparently.
But they just got a $1.1 million, this working group, and I'm sitting here watching your good ideas and thinking this is where the money should be being spent, because it's so I don't know, the sooner this group can get a little group together that becomes a voice that writes on behalf of you all, I see your voice being heard in a very productive way, so that the industry does drive this and it isn't government botched.
Yeah, we agree with you, obviously, Juliana. We've spoken on a couple of occasions, and I think Uli will attend to it. I mean, he might have some comments on a national register or not, but clearly I think everybody on this call is saying it needs to be industry-led rather than government-led. So we need to go through the process of saying, well, who's putting their hands up? And then, okay, how do we then manage the establishment of an alliance, a federation, an association, just those legal requirements, Leah, which you would understand. And then how do we manage governance? And then, because we're going to go to government and ask for grants, we have to show, or we have to be able to tick off every risk that they will raise. We can say, we actually can attend to that. So it might be a new, as I said, federation, alliance, association, but the organizations sitting behind that have got 30, 40 whatever years of establishment behind them, revenue behind them, budget management, you know, credibility behind them, they can manage money. If you give us a grant, you are not going to be at risk of that money actually not being spent on what you acquitted it for, etc., etc. So Leah, I don't know whether you want to comment on that, but from my point of view, that is one of the next steps forward. If we put our hands up that we want to be involved in this, then we need to be really, you know, upfront, squeaky clean, everything in line, to go to the government and say, you can trust us with the money and we will deliver.
Yeah, I agree, Karen, with everything you've said there. And like I said, I suppose it's nutting out exactly what the federation, if you want to call it that, is going to look like. And then from there, you can sort of work out what structure you need. And the structure of it is so crucial because to get you, one, the opportunity for funding and grants, and also to have you that right vocal platform, you've just got to get it really spot on from the start, and all your governance, constitution and everything needs to be laid out. But I mean, I suppose we don't need to talk about that now, but it is an extremely crucial part of it.
If I just can sum up a little bit here, Leah, and all these last comments have been very great, and I support all of it. The government has, let's put it back, let's take it back to equine influenza, right? Where horses got vaccinated, they got a microchip number, and they kept their data for a few years and nothing happened with that, right? And a complete waste of money, a complete waste of data. Now, if they do now an national horse identification scheme, right? They might capture a fair bit, but breed societies, I don't think that breed societies want to, or that horse owners want to pay another fee to join it and to re-register their horses again, right? It would be dead, and this drive we come from, as we do so much more, because we will use data not only for biosecurity. We will use data to make the industry better, right? And that is something which is not on the radar of the government at all, right? And I think if they spend some money, or when they spend some money to put into that, right, that it should be not only used for the biosecurity, it should be also used for all these points that we are talking about in this meeting.
Just for the group's information, because I've been doing this now for 10 years in the background to get it to where it is today, which is not very far, I'm afraid. There is conversations with the current Agriculture Minister, and I'm working with the Shadow Agriculture Minister as well, to look at the principle of national registration being free. So as it is in some other places, and I don't know how many of you are aware of what's happening in Canada. They've got a different model. So there are lots of different models for whatever register group or connectivity of data. You have to be very careful, Lee, I think, when we say about re-registering and charging. I feel as if that almost stops you before you get started, even in a group like this, because people become suspicious. Yeah. I think that everyone just needs to keep an open mind that this is something so new for Australia. And I've got a lot of correspondence, and I've had some phone conversations with ministers who I've managed to convince that they completely ignore you as a group. And there's so much to be gained by understanding and supporting the broader horse industry outside of racing. So therefore, while Karen and I accept that it has to be industry-led and governments aren't good at running things, that's clear to everybody, they can be very powerful in terms of helping with legislation to make things be more robust down the track. So I just wanted to say that I wanted to enter into everybody's mind that I've had discussions with the Agriculture Minister, both federally and some of the state agriculture ministers, that why shouldn't, at least at this very basic level, connectivity of existing databases or whatever centralised database gets developed should be free. There's a lot of subsidies for other industries. Why shouldn't the horse industry, which is the backbone of many rural communities, benefit from this? And there is a great argument in this, and I actually convinced Mr. Littleproud, and hence some funding came to the working group that's not doing anything, I'm afraid, because it's very powerful. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I've never really had an arena to express that to horse owners. But that I'm not, this is a real possibility. And while that shouldn't be that you sell your soul and they take, the reason all that data was lost after EI was because nobody put anything in place for privacy. Nobody put any structures in place. They simply collected data madly to try and stop a disease to keep it out of Australia. And now we have the opportunity to develop something from the ground up that's exactly what Australian horse owners want. And people like you need to be involved. So as a group, but do bear in mind that I believe the government will be prepared to pay to help you get off the ground to design what it is you want. I just wanted to add that. Sorry,
No, thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Joanna. That is great to hear, and we are more than happy to work together with government if they put their hands in the pocket, right, and get us off the ground, right. And I believe if industry and government can work together successfully, that's probably the best outcome for both.
Well, can I just say that I just hope that in New Zealand we can get at least a modicum of that enthusiasm going here and get something better organised. Yay. Whew.
Yeah, I mean,
Julie,
yes.
It's David Quick again. I think to move forward, what we probably need to do is once this information and this discussion gets back out to the people that have attended, we should call for people that are interested and can have input into a nucleus to start the ball rolling and to get a working group going so that therefore we can go forward with some suggestions. There's been wonderful suggestions. I haven't heard one that I don't really aspire to be with. So if we could do that, get a nucleus going forward and then get back out a little bit more officially after that. We just need to know, we're all on a similar page, but we just need to know which way to proceed forward from here. So if we had some sort of a working group that we could do that with, it doesn't need to be the final group in any way, shape or form. It's just people that have good input. And then we can start from there to get back out again. And then hopefully we'll get more enthusiasm from other groups as well. Just my thought.
I agree. Sorry, Uli, I'm about to jump in. I agree with what you're saying, and I think we need to keep our vision quite tight, because we don't want 1,000 flowers blooming in terms of what it is we want to achieve. So in the first instance, what is it we want to achieve? Federation and establishment and association, et cetera, and then what does that mean? And then what is the next step, et cetera, because if we just go, too wide, too large, too quick, we will just crash and burn. So I agree with you. We need to have a pathway here. Yeah. Sorry, Uli.
I think like you said, we should stay focused, set priorities, right? And like David said, I would like to follow up with a meeting probably in 3 or 4 weeks' time, that all breed societies have a chance to represent this to their committees, right? And then have a meeting with the interested parties and actually form a committee and say, okay, that we get this actually off the ground, right? And because I dare to say that basically we have reasonable good support from all people who are in this meeting, right? And or if somebody I would like to know if somebody says, okay, I think you're wasting your time, I don't want to be part of it. So if that is the case, please let me know and somebody give a reason, because I believe we only can gain from coming together. And we pointed out now through Juliana too, right? What our opportunities are in the near future, right? And let's say my vision comes from bringing sport and breeding together, right? And make sure that we improve the whole industry, including export market for Australian bred horses and breeders and breed societies.
I just thought I'd mention too, in my research over the years, as I was bringing the case to the government, they should pay out and support something for the horse industry, that the horse import and export industry in Australia is worth more than the pork industry, which I know is a different industry because you eat pigs, but genetic material and live import and export, and this is off OCDE graphs, and I shared that with our Federal Agricultural Department, and they were surprised. So you are a big industry, you're just very spread out, and so not recognised as perhaps being as beneficiaries of as much funding as you're entitled to.
Exactly. So we have been going for a bit over an hour now, right? We can discuss a little more if you like, but I like to sort of come to the conclusion of what's the next step, and I like to make the suggestion that people who are interested send in via email or on the chat now, say, okay, I put my hand up, I want to be, I like to be part of it, or I like to know more about it, or I like to keep an eye on it, whatever it is, that we can have an indication what support we have got. And then I would like to call another meeting in 4 weeks' time, and probably do the next step in formally forming an alliance or breeders group or whatever we want to call it, right? And move on from there, right? That's I would like to. I would hate to see that it only stops with a discussion, with a meeting, and nothing comes out of it. So I want to make sure we get action. Cass, yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Monica. Irish Sport Horse. Cass, no? Yes, please, definitely interested. Yeah. Thank you for informating, right? I would think, David, you would be interested, right? Yes. We are very interested in being involved, right? Thank you. Do we email you? You can email, or you can put it here on the chat. We also like then when you have some ideas, right? Ingrid Ace Group, very interested, right? For our next meeting, come up with some points of the agenda, that we have a bit of an agenda that we can send out before, what you like to discuss. Have a think about how we can form it, right? That we get the right constitution or the right setup, right? I'm not an expert on that, right? There are lots of people in this group who can do a much better job than I can, right? And so I like to sort of get something going with a good group of people, that we have also the right knowledge on our committee to move forward, right? And the right support. You need to definitely involve. So United Breed sounds good. We'll email. Okay. Have we got anything more to discuss or to say, or
I think I think on behalf of everyone, we just want to thank you, Uli, for getting us all together and, you know, starting this discussion, because, you know, in previous talks, you've really wanted to do this for the last 40 years. So we're all, I think, excited and hopeful that this, you know, pays off and it works for the industry, because, as you said, we're only going to gain from this. So yeah, thank you for doing this tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm just sort of I have to thank all you that you are joining and supporting, because it's not an easy thing to do, right, to pull off. And I like to thank you all for coming, for joining the meeting at this time of the day. And secondly, for your input, and hopefully we can spread the word that we estimate we have probably over 100 breed societies here in Australia and probably 30 or 40 in New Zealand. And if we can get them all under one pot, that would be fantastic, right? But if we get, that's a good starting point, and show the industry that we have fair income, and come up with ideas and plans, right, how to move forward, and also what benefits it will have, not only for the breed societies, but also, like Juliana said, for government, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Uli. Much appreciated, and your time and information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Uli.
No worries. I thank you very much, and I sum it up that we had a good first meeting, and I'm looking forward to the second one, and hopefully you're all back on board again, and more. And like I said, come up with suggestions and just points for the agenda, and maybe some ideas what the group should look like, and so that we can go through it and actually do something. Thank you very much. I call this meeting as an end. Like I said, unfortunately, only push the recording button when we start the discussion, but we will email the deck out, which we presented to all of you, and the recording of the discussions too. And I think these questions which are coming up, and which are being, or the notifications which have been sent pretty much to everyone, that you all can see that. And yeah, and we stay in contact and we move forward. No, thank you, Renai. That has been great. You are a really big part, and really you have been the inspiration that we called this meeting, because we have a representative in this part of the world to the World Breeding Federation, and that's what actually triggered it all off. And but as you can see, there's sort of, Australia has many more sports as what is at the moment part of the World Breeding Federation. But we stay together and we keep in contact, and hopefully we can help each other to grow and to benefit for this part of the world, and also for the World Breeding Federation.
Absolutely, and I'll support you and do whatever I can for our Asia Pacific area when I go back to any of our meetings. So yeah, I'm here to work for you all, so I'll do the best I possibly can. So, and if anyone's got anything they need done, please message me. So thank you all.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I close the meeting, or if somebody wants to say something, you're welcome to do so. Well, okay, otherwise, thank you very much, and have a good evening, and we send emails to go on out for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.